Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. England versus Croatia. The Euros have kicked off. How should England line up? How good are Croatia? You've got to hold and give, but do it at the right time. You can be slow or fast, but you must get to the line. They'll always hit you and hurt you. Defend and attack. There's only one way to hit them. Get round the back. We're singing for England. England. Kovacic, Brozovic, Modric, Perisic, Rebic, everything else ending in itch. No, that's 5 players who play for Croatia and they currently play for them. They're no mugs. They knocked us out. They got to the World Cup final, however long ago that was, 3 years. They're a good side. They're a bit of an ageing side, but so are Belgium, and they're considered to be one of the teams that could do well in this tournament. And I think England have got to be really careful because I think we're going into this game believing our own hype, and I'll go through some of Croatia's results recently, but they're not a team. They're not a bad side. They're not a bad side, and I think English arrogance could be our downfall at the weekend. I'm going to say straight away, I fancy this game to be a draw. I'd love England to win it, but I think it would be a big statement for England to win it. But whether they've got Kovacic, whether they've got Perisic, whether they've got Rebic, Modric, whoever else, that does not mean we need to play a back 5 in this game. We cannot pick a back 5 in this game. It's like wearing a condom in a shower. What do you expect to happen? What are you protecting? This is Croatia. We don't need to play a back 5 against Croatia. Why would we play a back 5 against Croatia? And if we play a back 5 against Croatia, surely we're going to play a back 5 against Scotland, because the only reason to pick a back 5 is either Southgate's Mr. Defensive, which we think he is, or he's doing it because Harry Maguire's injured. Well, Harry Maguire's not going to be back for the Scotland game. So we're going to play a back 5 against Scotland. How bloody embarrassing is that? We're going to play a back 5 against Scotland. Come on, get out there. And also, England's talent is in its attack. And you've got to get the attackers on. If you play a back 5, that automatically means you've got to drop one of your attackers. And we've got too many attackers that are good as it is. So for me, it's got to be a back 4. If you look at the game in itself, it's probably the biggest game of the group. I'd say Croatia and England are favourites to go through. Scotland and Czech Republic, however good they are, they will be the underdogs. So I would go with a back 4. Pickford would be my goalkeeper. Look, I've never been a really big fan of Pickford, but with the goalkeepers that we've got, and I do like Sam Johnston. Pope's obviously not there. Henderson, for me, as a United fan, I think he should be England number 1, but I wouldn't make him be England number 1 because I think his end to the season for United was not as confident as it should have been. So I would stick with Pickford. My right back, right back's very, very difficult. A lot of people are saying we should go with Kyle Walker. I personally think Reece James. I really do. Reece James or Trippier. There's something about those two that I prefer over Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker's fast, but I just think Trippier and Reece James offer something more. I would go Reece James, but I think he'll go Kyle Walker. Obviously, Stones will start. We've got no Maguire. Now, the left-sided centre-back is probably going to be Tyrone Mings. Now, if you're going to go with a back 5 because you don't trust Mings, don't pick Mings is what I would say. Pick Cody or pick Ben White. But he's not going to pick Ben White because Ben White's only going as a last-minute player. So he's not going to pick White, who's a last-minute player, over a Mings or a Cody. So he's going to go with Mings. And I think if we go with a back 5, it's going to be because of that, because he doesn't trust Mings. But Mings and Stones would be my centre-backs. Luke Shaw left back. Look, I know Mourinho hates Shaw, and I know a lot of Chelsea fans want Chilwell and maybe other fans, but for me, yes, there's a bit of United bias, but actually there isn't. I think Luke Shaw has been one of the best left backs in the world over the last 12 months and should start. I think Chilwell is massively improved, but it's Shaw for me. So Pickford, Shaw, Mings, Stones and Walker is how I think he will go. I would have started Reece James at right back. Into midfield, you're going to play a midfield 2. Is Henderson ready? If Henderson's not ready, I actually would go Rice and Mount. I would. To get Mount into the team, which allows you to get another attacking midfielder like him into the team, I would go Rice and Mount. But this is Southgate in charge. Rice and Phillips is what he will go for. He will not. I don't think Henderson will be fit enough to start. If Henderson's fit, obviously you're going to go Rice and Henderson, but I think he'll go Rice and Phillips. So 4-2. And then the 3, Harry Kane's up front. Harry Kane up front, we know that. And then the 3 behind Harry Kane across, the number 10, the right and the left. For me, Grealish has got to start. So I would play Grealish you could play Grealish at 10 if you wanted to, and put Foden on the left or Rashford on the left. Or you could put Grealish on the left and play Mount centrally. But Grealish has got to start. I would play Mount and Grealish and bench Foden, which sounds hard. You could play all 3. You could play Mount to the right, Grealish in the centre and Foden to the left and play Kane up front and not start Sancho, Rashford and Sterling. You know he's not going to do that. I think he's going to start Sterling, which I think is a mistake. I think he's going to start Rashford, which I want Rashford to play. I think he's an exciting player, but is he in form or not? I think Grealish, Foden and Mount all deserve to start. You've got to start 2 of those 3 and one of them's got to be Grealish. So that's why for me I'd like to see Mount playing next to Rice. I think that could work if Rice held the midfield, because then you could play Rice, Mount, Grealish, still play Rashford, still play Sterling, still play Kane and put Foden on the bench. Personally, what I think he'll do is I think he'll go Rice, Henderson, Mount, Rashford, Sterling, Kane and drop Grealish. I think he's going to do that because I think he'll start Mount. But for me, Grealish has to start. And if he's going to play Phillips and Rice and put Mount at 10, you put Grealish on the left, put Rashford or Sterling on the right and put Kane up front. But for me, Grealish has got to start. I think that we've got to play a 4-2-3-1 and you've got to start Jack Grealish. And you've got to start Mount really as well. And in some ways, would it really harm us to play Phillips, Rice and then Grealish, Mount and Foden with Kane? I don't think it would harm us. I really don't. I think Foden and Mount and Grealish are intelligent enough to play wide, and I think we would move the ball so much better with those 3 in the team. But we'll see what he does with that. As for Croatia and my score prediction, I think it will be a draw. But looking at Croatia's last few results, and we'll go back to sort of September last year, they got beat 4-1 by Portugal, then they got beat 4-2 by Croatia. They beat Sweden 2-1. They lost to France 2-1 then. Then they lost to Sweden 2-1. Then they lost to Portugal 3-2. Then they lost to Slovenia 1-0. Then they beat Cyprus 1-0, Malta 3-0, drew with Armenia, lost to Belgium 1-0. So their results are not that good. If you look at their recent form, yeah, they're not the sort of team that's going to get beat 3 or 4-0 by France, but they certainly do get beaten by France and Portugal and teams like that. So England should be looking to get a result here. I don't think Croatia, to me, look like the sort of team that's going to come and beat us, but I just think England will start slowly. And I think it will be a draw. I'd love to see us come out like a train. I'd love to see us do well. I'd love to see us get the result to give some confidence, because what you don't want to do is draw or even, God forbid, lose to Croatia and put huge pressure on the Battle of Britain on Friday, which is England versus Scotland, because that game, England should beat Scotland. But I'm telling you now, that's out the window. I've seen England play Ireland. I've seen England play Scotland in '96. You know, it goes out the window. It becomes like an international derby and anything can happen. So I think it's important that England get off to a win. But to do that, Southgate ultimately is the manager, and Southgate ultimately is the guy who decides the fate of England. And if he goes with the back 5, then I think we're going to struggle through this tournament. You've got to go with the back 4, Gareth. Your best players are Foden, Mount, Grealish, and you've got to get as many of them on the team as possible. They're the creative players. They're the players that we've got 3 really good creative players. Imagine if Grealish was playing for another country and Foden was playing for another country and we had Mason Mount. We'd be really happy. We've got 3. Get as many of them in the team as possible. In international football, pace and running at somebody doesn't work as well as intricate players like Grealish, Mount and Foden. I think those 3 players are the players that Grealish needs to get, that Southgate needs to get the most out of. I'm going to go 1-1. Get your score predictions in below. Make sure you smash a like on the video. Loads of watch-alongs on the channel, so subscribe. I'll speak to you on the next one.